broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. This is The Gailey Show, also streaming right now on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TheGailey Show. Welcome to The Gailey Show. I am your host, JP Derbragosian. It is Friday, which means culture and entertainment, and ooh, what a day do we have for you. Belo Miguel Cipriani is back joining us, and this time he's brought 4 of his writing students who are going to read their queer poetry with us. And is there any better way to spend your Valentine's Day afternoon? No, there is not. So, Belo, welcome back to The Gailey Show.
Thanks for having me, JP. I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. So I always love talking with you. And this is a very special time that we have here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your writing courses and the work that you do with these students?
Community faculty at Metro State. We have a Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing, and I teach, anything from memoir to poetry and science fiction. The students we'll be hearing from today some of them are former students, some of them are current students, and some of them are other students in the program who I'm advising. And so I'm just excited to share their work. I think it's important and it's timely.
Absolutely. And you also are an author as well. You have a new book out that we got to talk about a few weeks ago. Do you want to kind of briefly talk us through that one?
Sure. I have the title is called Accessing Parenthood, which is a collection of essays by parents parents who have disabilities. And so it's just this experience of what it's like to have a parent. If you have a disability, we have essays from deaf parents who are worried about maybe not hearing their child call to them, and different types of perspectives on parenting with a disability. And it was definitely a project that took about 4 years to put together, and I'm just so happy it's out there to be shared.
Well, it's an amazing book. And folks, you can go back and listen to that Thinking Clearly, Thinking Queerly episode that we had with Belo a few weeks ago. Definitely worth the listen. Well, our first reader is going to be Stephanie Majors. So I'm going to invite Stephanie to the stage. There we go. Stephanie Major lives inside a library that some would call an apartment overflowing with books, which she shares with her moody cat and 2 teenagers. She is a poet, and her writing focuses on themes of resilience, queer identity, and joy. Stephanie, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. My first poem is called In Which I Am Pleasantly Surprised on the Way to the Airport. The sun slung low on the hips of the dusty lavender and indigo sky. She was in the passenger seat while I held procession with my story, emoting far too grandiosely, an act that had received damning criticism so often I'd, for many years, relented and grown dull, though she, being unaware of such matters, and being so thoroughly herself, reached in and untethered those bits of me, snapping the rope that had caged all of my birds, and, as their tired wings unfurled, I prepared for their immediate reincarceration. But friends, listen. I became self-aware as if I were an orange and had juiced my own flesh, and steeled myself to watch in horror as the juice was drunk and met with a sour face. And what happened next is the moment to pluck out of the whole ordeal and roost it and hatch it. She leaned in to where my cardigan had slipped to my elbow, and laughing, found bare shoulder, and kissed and kissed. Oh, don't you see? She laughed and she kissed my shoulder. She laughed and she kissed my shoulder. Red state. There's nothing like 2 girls kissing in a red state. The redder, the better. The red of your lips, your tongue, your beautiful rosy folds. Oh, darling, please don't be gentle. I am just now becoming much more human than I ever realized I could be. Climb inside my pocket and make a home there. This is our peaceful protest. The world is on fire again. They're readying to nail us up again. But I will lie with you, despite it all, in spite of it all. Let the fields worry about the fields. We did what we could when we voted. Best case now is we're just another pair of roommates for the history books. I will continue to kiss you in this red state. I will kiss you endlessly in every state. On maybe the last day of winter. Spring is a feral cat this year, retreating further with every coaxing, leaving us shivering and damp beneath our layers. The important part to remember is that she will arrive, and when she does, it'll be in a blink. Our sun-starved bodies will gorge on the feast of light, scarcely noticing the whiplash. There's never much to complain about after a winter like that, and it's always a winter like that. In my car, the icebox atmosphere is kept at bay. I practice blinking to prepare myself for the new season. I close my eyes and open them. Your hand is on my knee. The warmth between your hand and my thigh could send this winter finally packing. Your delicate hands with the heavy silver rings and a few shorter fingernails all filed dance through my daydreams of soft skin on soft skin. I close my eyes again and the light remains, glowing red, softly blurred bursts behind my lids. I close my eyes and your hand remains, the weight of its surety keeping my bones together. We continue north toward the cabin. I open my eyes and I'm blinded again. The sun to my right, lasering away my vision. Your smile to my left, incandescently brilliant. Oh, I could feast on your light for ages. I could live through winter all over again. In which we stopped to get some tea after the bookstore. We shivered against a biting wind, skidding half a mile down icy pavement to the tea place I'd raved to her about, hoping she'd still want to go out with me again after I made her brave these elements. Because at 18, I was an argumentative monster who thought, surely everything is for me. Surely the world is for me. Which included demanding a license, though the instructor had qualms about my parallel parking, to which I informed them I would be just fine and dandy walking, and they barked out a laugh so rooted in age and being sick of teenagers that I almost changed my mind, but couldn't, because who changes their mind like that at 18? These days I'm more crinkled around the eye, squinting as the January wind nearly cut us in half, and she didn't have gloves or a scarf, and I thought probably I'm a schmuck for not noticing before we left. But over her fruity honey concoction and my London fog, next to a hissing radiator in the sun, she said my eyes were beautiful, and I nearly floated off with the steam. And on the way back, the wind was at our face again. I figured that's my dues for being inconsiderate. But then the winds changed, and I could look at her without fear of my eyeballs being ripped off, and my God, her hair blowing back like that, the sun catching every strand. I felt that beastly 18-year-old vigor return, not to stampede, but to capture the world. She met my eyes, and I thought, surely everything is for me. Surely the world is for me.
Wow. Stephanie, thank you. Red State, that's gonna stick with me for a while. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
are going to move you into the backstage area, and actually, we're gonna bring up our next poet. Isaac, who's going to be Isaac. Isaac, we're going to bring you on here because we are ahead of schedule. So there's Isaac. Isaac Songquist is a Minneapolis-based writer and student at Metro State University, working towards a bachelor's in creative writing. He writes based off of his experience as a gay man and hopes to make queer writing and reading more accessible and relevant. Songquist is a managing editor for Metro State's Arts and Literary magazine. He's also finalizing his debut book, My Closet: Fears and Fantasies of a Closeted Gay Man. You can follow Isaac at Guy in the Backwards Cap on Instagram or visit his website at guyinthebackwardscap.com. Isaac, we have about 3.5 minutes left, so maybe we want to do like your first poem and then we can continue on after the break. The stage is yours.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you so much for having me here. This is an amazing opportunity. I'm very honored to be here. My first poem is called Friday Nights. Friday nights are for the gays to gaze at screens of drag queens competing for the attention of RuPaul and the picky fandom, where clear plastic cups are filled from working bottles and boys in backwards caps. High noons and vodka sodas reek in our mouths as we gossip and judge. It's a time of community, meeting new friends and old, A campy drag queen hugs me from behind. I blow her a kiss. The queer next to me compliments my writing. We exchange poets and phone numbers. I find other friends and gossip some more. Discussions of X's and oh no's. To block or not to block. That is the everlasting and unanswerable question to a homosexual. Brat, Beyonce, boys, we gays know what we like. Friday nights are for the gays and the salty french fries that quench our queerness and drunken memories we may regret, but will often cherish.
I love that. Thank you for that. We actually have a couple minutes left. Do you think you could do your next one? I don't want to rush you, though.
No, I can do my next one.
Okay,
I'd
go
love
for it.
to. This next piece is called Water Me. The day my plant died was the day you breathed life into me. You reincarnated the greens of the flowered and blossomed its roots into my soul. My veins bulge a bit brighter, and my eyes go bright amber at your sunny seductions. You watered me with compliments and used those working hands to plow your acres of crops. I was a special sprout, delicate. I was too delicate. You decided one day to water others more than me. So I wilted and let my leaves shed you away. My eyes returned to its brown reality, and my veins lost their connection to you. You turned my soil into dirt because you refused to water me.
Oh, you all are bringing it. This is absolutely. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna get emotional. Thank you for that, Isaac. We're gonna fit in a break here. And we're going to be back more with Isaac and the rest of his poems that he's going to read from us, and two additional students from Metro State University. You are listening to The Gailey Show. We are featuring queer poets from Metro State University today here on Valentine's Day. Please support our sponsors and advertisers. They make this show possible. So when you go and visit them, tell them you heard about them on The Gailey Show. For right now, enjoy this break. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. I'm JP Darabagosian. It is 21 minutes past the hour. We are joined by poets from Metro State University who are reading their work for us here on Valentine's Day. Before the break, Isaac Sundquist was reading his work, and we're going to continue with Isaac right now. So, Isaac, the stage continues to be yours.
Thank you. This next poem is called The 90s on Hennepin. The straightest gay bar plays white people wedding songs and hosts black bachelorettes dressed as grannies, tipping and groping drag queens. The straightest gay bar has men dancing on women and not the flaming homosexual who just wants to dance with his shirt off. The straightest gay bar has breakdancing and dance circles and no rhythm. The straightest gay bar is not a strip club, but that won't stop them from readying their ones and fives, hoping for a motorboat. The straightest gay bar has no men-on-men closeness, unless you count the handsome security guard's pat down upon entry. It's perhaps the second gayest thing just behind the drag queens. The straightest gay bar is conservative and concerning, unaware that this safe space has been invaded by hetero heroes who think they need to stamp their approval. The straightest gay bar needs refurnishing and exterminations. We need our space back.
Ooh, some shade there, Isaac. I love it. I love it. Do you have another piece for us?
Yep. This next one is called Lavender is Said to Reduce Anxiety. Lavender is said to reduce anxiety, so I purged the purple products. Various soaps, oils, sprays, trash bags, a pen with a diffuser. Scents so sweet and powerful, a little sigh or an overwhelming gasp, like falling into a field of floral fuchsias. Lavender is said to reduce anxiety. I overwhelm myself with scents to box out the saboteur, for his weakness is the purple purge. And he leaves for a moment from my swift spritz, but I snort the oils like crack to keep my high and push him further, further down. Lavender is said to reduce anxiety. Does it work? That's better. And I have one more poem if we have time.
Yes.
This one is called Soup. A friend told me today that she would love to make soup for James Baldwin in the great beyond. She is known for wanting to cook soup for those she adores. She said something similar when Timothy Chalamet was at the U. She also wanted to knit him a sweater. I can picture her in her kitchen chopping chicken in stanzas and pouring in hot broth with haikus. Her comment made me wonder who I'd make soup for. Who would I give my ladle of love and lust to? Do they deserve my sautéed stories, my strained stories? My stories of fresh tomato soup and grilled cheese? Are my words worth their appetite? Is this why I write? To feed the mouths of those who are starved and deprived of nourishment from a creative's garden? Yes, because there is someone out there who needs a bowl of my soup to slurp through their reality and feel the warmth of words slide down their throats. For now, I will make soup for myself. I think I need it the most.
Mm. Isaac, thank you for that. Our
Thank you.
next poet, Mickey Mahoney. Mickey, I'm going to bring you on stage.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so Mickey Mahoney is a poet, writer, and musician. They have spent the last decade working in the music industry and currently play bass in over 13 bands. Mickey's written a musical work often explores themes of queer identity, spirituality, and grief. Mickey, the stage is yours. We have about 3.5 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. This first poem is called Shy. We could lay here forever, never touching, under white cover of cottonwood, on pillows of rolling green. We could stretch our arms to the length of our wanting. Your body is like my body, yet yours is the first I have ever seen, the beginning of everything, too perfect to touch. Like the center of our new love, like God, like us, reaching in the basket, plucking purple grapes from the vine, softly sucking off the skin, smiling red, the summer sun like juice dripping down the sides of our mouths. We could stay here forever, never leaving. When the rain comes, let it open us to dance and quench our thirst and dance again. They flutter, these wings I call your eyes, like little glass birds startled to flight. When the wind comes, we can fly, never touching the earth, until we are carried by stars to sleep softly in their spotlight. Would you lay there with me forever, breathing, listening? I can teach you to pray without your hands, show you how they are answered, reaching, too perfect to touch. Coming out as a miracle. When I came out, my mother crying through the phone, threw her tears like footballs, landing with a thud on the floor of my ears. She said she failed me, which is to say she doesn't understand. And she strung her fear along fraying hypotheticals, and I too imagined another world. One where I tell her that I am blessed with a little more love, that my body is infinite and holy and completely mine, and for once I have made sense of the stars, the ones that collect in long streaks of pink, then rupture red before ever gathering green or white towards a nameable thing. I know now that I am the glittering wish made upon each of them, that my heart is their purple exploding rhythm, a ceremony, flecks of bright light in the brilliant shape of a miracle. My mom, breathless over the phone, inhaled so deep it was static to the signal, and she said with the deepest concern and the deepest breath yet, but people will call you gay. And I had to laugh because that's what I am.
We have about 90 seconds left, so we're going to fit in a quick commercial break here, and we're going to continue on with the poetry of Mickey Mahoney. You are listening to The Gailey Show. Today we are featuring poets from Metro State University. They are taught by Belo Miguel Cipriani, who was a guest here on The Gailey Show for one of our Thinking Clearly, Thinking Queerly episodes a couple weeks back. You definitely want to check that out, as his newest book deals with accessibility and parenthood. It is an anthology of writers. He is also the author of Blind, a memoir, a very compelling, heart-wrenching story of his experience of being blinded by previous friends / acquaintances. You can listen to an episode of This Queer Book Saved My Life, actually our companion podcast, to learn more about that really necessary story to listen to. So we are going to take a break here. Are you on Blue Sky? You need to follow us. We're at thegaileyshow.org. We have ticket giveaways for shows in Minneapolis, St. Paul there, and you can also follow us for more progressive news and analysis. Stay tuned. More after this break. Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. This is The Gailey Show. I am your host, JP D'Arbrigosian. It is 33 minutes past the hour. We are joined today on Valentine's Day by 4 queer writers, poets from Metro State University. Before the break, we were hearing the work from Mickey Mahoney. Mickey, the stage continues to be yours.
Thank you. This piece is called Grief. That is love too. Grief drove me home drunk, stumbling for fall-soaked halfies on the back porch, stumbling for something to smoke, something to breathe in. Grief had me dancing in front of the mirror, in cotton underwear, purple and pink, wondering what you would say, wondering how you would touch me with outstretched hands of chalk and sugar cane, pinching the yellow pads of fat below my hips, pulling my hair taut so the skin of my face lifts and letting go. Grief had me flirting with my friends, looking at pictures of you on the internet. I would wear see-through shirts, go braless, wear see-through eyes, green, clumsy, crying. I extricate myself from pride. The stars collapse without even trying. This is my last piece. It's called Possibility Song. On the pink gold lip of a not yet morning, I will wade in soft waters of mind. Not quite sleeping, but dreaming still, driver and passenger combined. Between 2 days not yet here or leaving, like a knife on the neck of time. Between all that is real and imaginary, my body an impossible line. And when I wake in certain morning to a world afraid of these things, to the ones who see this fear as truth and defend the destruction it brings, I will arrive in perfect anger as the air beneath liberation's wings. I will arrive as possibility does. I will sing, I will sing, I will sing.
Mickey, thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
I am going to bring on our concluding poet for today. Let me make sure everything is, there we go, set up for our final reader, who is Raina Amundsen, a writer on the schizo disorder spectrum. Raina Amundsen is a queer person of color and student at Metro State. Raina is new to creative writing, finding out how powerful the art form can be for exploring and expressing themselves. To learn more about them and their work, you can follow them on Instagram. They are at RyanAmundsen.73. Raina, the stage is yours.
Okay. My first poem is Slanting Words Are a Lover's Lie. His hands wrap around my waist. He squeezes to catch my attention. I look back and crack a wide smile, looking into his bluish green eyes. He says, I love you, with a certain slant in his voice I can't quite make out. But I still say, I love you too. We come close to kiss one another. I smell a floral fragrance hanging on his neck, but only ask how his day went, and ignore the little feeling of hurt in my chest, telling myself, I'm just overthinking, but my voice has that same slant now that his does. And then my second poem is Dandyish. Dandyish sounds like an insult. I remember being called a dandy and all the boys laughing. I never felt bad. I didn't understand how being a dandelion was bad. Dandelions look like the sun, smell sweet and earthy, and tickle your nose with their fuzz. They provide bees with their nectar and turn white so you can make wishes with your breath. And then my third poem is Why Can't I Be Pretty? I remember my mother yelled, You'll never be a pretty girl. When I told her, I remember her saying she would rather have had a stillborn son than a freak. I remember how I just stood there while she screamed in my face, her teeth exposed, lips twisted and wrinkled with fury and grief, the pain sinking deep into my chest. I couldn't move. How could I? So I just stood there and took it. She told me I'll look ugly and nobody will love me if I go through with this. But in my head, all I thought was, nobody really loves me now anyway. I walked away tired, thinking maybe I should have never told her the truth. And then my final poem is Reina, a Beloved Daughter. On my throne I sit, wrapped in silk of pure white, anointed in oil of glittering gold, crowned with lilies and willed by God. I am a beloved daughter. I look at my feet and wonder, will they ever fit into heels? I see my chest covered in vines of dark hair and cry out, wondering if I'll ever have soft, smooth skin. I hear my voice, not at all feminine, and doubt, can I really be her? But in my heart, I know who I am. Fear and hate are cast upon me from all I thought were close. But when I'm alone and crying, I see the women I have always aspired to be like, the queens whose souls yearn to be seen. Nobody can take from me who I am. I know in the deep of my aching chest, in the pain of countless rejections, I am a beloved daughter. And that's it.
Wow, folks. All of you, your words are going to sit with me for a very long time. I'm going to bring you all back into the conversation here. Raina, thank you very much for those words and sharing them with us. I'm going to bring you all back in here to the conversation. Again, thank you for sharing your time and your poetry and your honesty. I mean, just with all of us, it's been absolutely uh, very grateful for that. Sorry, words. What are they? Okay, so I do actually have a question for all of you. It is around. So when I started writing essays, I found myself transforming how I thought of myself as a queer person. Like I thought going in, I was just going to be like, this is what I want to write about. And I read it. And then during the process of it, I'm like, oh, wait, actually, how I really think about this. And I felt like who I came out on the other side was different than before I started writing. the essay. So I'm curious for all of you, as you're, in the beginning stages of your careers, which I would not believe because all of you, this is just fantastic work. But for all of you, like, how have you found the process of engaging with poetry to be changing how you think of yourself as you're, living and loving and walking on this planet? I don't know who wants to, if you want to like raise your hand and I can call on you. Yeah, Stephanie, go ahead.
I would say for me, it's less about identity and it's more about validation. There's a 15-year-old girl inside of me who was told she could not write poetry and she could not be gay. And here I am, and I'm gay, and I'm writing poetry. So, that's really what it's about for me is the survival aspect of it. That can't erase us.
Do you find yourself then writing for that 15-year-old, like words that you wish that you would have read yourself at that age?
Yes, and all of the other people who are still going through that phase of discovery and being kind of held back or held down, just because it's still happening.
Mm-hmm. Mickey, Isaac, or Raina, how about for you?
Yeah, for me, poetry is actually something that I'm very new to. I didn't really start writing poetry, taking it seriously until last semester when I had class with Bello for poetry. And so I found that poetry is very freeing in being able to express what I'm trying to say with identity. And I think I tend to use a lot of humor with some of my poetry. And I think that's always a nice outlet for me, I guess, to be able to express how I'm feeling and share some of my identity through those words.
I think that's really interesting, Isaac. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious then for Mickey or Raina, like what did poetry unlock for you? Like why did you want to gravitate towards that as opposed to like, fiction or creative nonfiction?
I've always been attracted to like a poet's ability to say a lot with very little. And yeah, it's always been like a transformative practice for me. It's how I connect my inner world with my outer one and vice versa. So, yeah.
For me, I think it was just more like I need to get this out, and this is stuff that I've experienced, and I think poetry is a good way to express that.
It's amazing. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a loquacious person, and it's like, why have 30 words when I can have 3,000? Which always has precluded me from being able to write poetry, even at the college level. I'm curious for all of you, as you are again in the beginning parts of your careers and starting to publish, you're coming into the industry at a time where I want to be mindful of how I phrase this question because it's not like we've always had, amazing opportunities for publishing, but we were just slowly starting to have kind of a foothold in the door in the publishing scene and in libraries and in bookstores. And now we're having all of these book bans just in the thousands coming forward and this massive erasure happening. And now with the current administration, we're seeing erasure on just an epically horrifying new level. So I'm curious, does any of that come into play in how you're approaching your writing right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that I write queer fiction poetry because I had no idea it existed growing up. And I know that there are people out there who don't know it exists, and it's our job as writers to be able to provide that for them. I made a joke to someone in a writing group a little while ago. I was like, if I get on the banned book list, then I did my job as a writer. Like then I did my job. Because that just to me that shows that my words, my advocacy towards making queer literature, writing, reading more relevant is now like it's front and center. That's how I see it. I'd rather it not get banned, but like, but in the times that we're in, that's like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Nikki, Raina, or Stephanie, how about for you?
I mean, I guess the way I look at it personally is, and again, I came from, I'm a little bit older than these guys, and I came from a different time where it just, yeah. And so to me, I look at it like, well, these books have been banned more often than they haven't, but it has never stopped us from writing, and it has never
Mhm.
stopped us from reading. And if I have to go around and like hand out my work to people, I mean, if people don't want to carry certain literature in bookstores, it doesn't stop people from wanting to read that literature. And I think as long as people stay connected to each other, we're going to be able to share that information regardless.
Thank you for that. If you are just joining us for Culture and Entertainment Fridays, we are hosting 4 absolutely phenomenal poets from Metro State University, current and alum. They are, let me see, let me get my list up correctly. We have Stephanie Majors, Isaac, sorry, folks. My notes, where'd they go? Stephanie Majors, Isaac Sonnquist, Mickey Mahoney, and Raina Amundsen. We are going to take one more break here, but there is still a lot to get to here on The Gailey Show. Again, please be sure to visit our sponsors and let them know that you heard about them on The Gailey Show, because if you are enjoying this particular episode, we cannot do it without our advertisers and our sponsors. So thank them and tell them that you heard about them on The Gailey Show. Stay tuned, more after this break. Welcome back to The Gailey Show here on AM 950 KTNF. It is Culture and Entertainment Fridays. We are joined from former guest and friend of the show, Belo Miguel Cipriani, who has put together an amazing program of poets from Metro State University, Stephanie Majors, Isaac Sonnquist, Mickey Mahoney, and Raina Amundsen. If you are just tuning in and didn't hear their work, you definitely need to go to our YouTube channel or go to am950radio.com or everywhere that you get your podcast to hear this absolutely spectacular work. Because as I was saying earlier, you all sound like you've had multiple chapbooks published, which is amazing. And I want to give credit to Belo. Belo, as a faculty member, like, what do you see as maybe the challenges and the opportunities facing queer writers right now, particularly in the classroom?
Absolutely. So I would just say that something that I mentioned to all my students, writing students in particular, that, you have to show up. You have to show up to your practice. You have to show up to your writing time. You have to show up, fully to an experience, and I would say that, all these poets that we listen to today, they all show up. And I love that about them. And I think that that's something, as a community, as a queer community, we need to keep doing in hard times, keep showing up, even though we may not be invited or wanted, we have to continue showing up. And for these writers, is showing up through their lyrics.
I love that. We need to keep showing up. For our poets, if there is someone listening right now of any age that is like, I don't know about this, maybe I might be interested, what advice would you give for them on getting started as a poet, learning the craft?
I would say read poetry every day and write poetry every day,
Mhm.
every single day.
Do you have any favorite poets that you would recommend? Not to put you on. Every time I get asked that question, my mind immediately goes blank. So I can't believe I'm
Yeah.
asking all of you. But if you all know of someone right now that you want to give a shout out to as a great queer poet to read.
Dainez Smith is amazing.
Yes.
Love Dainez Smith.
Yes.
And local.
And local.
just had a new chapbook or a book come out last summer too.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the title of it, but it was
Bluff?
spectacular.
Is it called Bluff?
Oh, maybe
Possibly.
I might look that up. But any advice for Bello? How about for you? Advice on learning the craft of poetry for folks who may be on the fence and maybe didn't even think about it before.
I would echo what Stephanie said. You have to, read poetry, and I think that people should keep in mind that the arts or literature has phases and goes through modes, and it's a lot like fashion. For example, in the 90s, poetry looked very different than what it looks now. And so I always encourage people not just to read poets, but to read modern poetry books, read books that have been published within the last 2 or 3 years to see what structure they're using, what layout. I run a publishing house, and I had someone submit a collection in sonnets, and while they were nice, like no one's really reading sonnets right now. And so it's again, I just want to just echo what was been said, that you have to read poetry and you have to read modern poets.
I'm curious about the life of a queer writer. I feel that there are different challenges and opportunities as queer folks as we're navigating the literary world, but that's my experience of it. How about for all of you? Like, do you think that there are different challenges and opportunities that you all have navigating this space?
Yeah, I think that there is always opportunity just with being a writer in general. I feel like I'm always on the lookout for anything, especially in queer spaces. It's places that I find comfort in, and that's where I sometimes like to do a lot of my writing, is in those spaces. But there's also those challenges that I also go to for writing, because it's a way for me to like therapize. I don't know if that's a word. Therapize
Yeah.
with how I'm feeling. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That you all had some very interesting topic selections. Like, how does that work for you in terms of identifying, like, oh, here's something that I want to write about, and the process of getting to the end of it? Because I know I've had a lot of essays that I'm like, oh, yes, this is a great idea, and then it like goes south on me. So for each of you, like, how does that work in terms of finding a topic and then seeing it through to the end?
I would say for myself, I think brutal honesty. Like, I don't really select the topics. The topics just kind of come out of me being honest with myself, with what I've experienced, how I've, dealt with it, and really, myself, and how I express that, whatever it is, grief or joy or love, in the poetry.
Yeah, I similar to what Reina was saying, I feel like if I do select a topic, I don't usually have in mind like how I think it's going to end or how I think it's going to go. I just ask along the way, like, what is this trying to be? And let the work sort of reveal itself. And then, yeah, in terms of like knowing when it's done is, like if I feel like I have nothing left to say, or it's said what it's needed to say. And yeah, usually I learn a lot about myself, like reading what I wrote, something I didn't know about myself.
Isn't it weird how they sort of just take on their own life?
Yeah.
I'm not saying about poetry, because I don't write poetry, but I know with my essays, I'm sort of like, who are you? Where are you going? Thank you all so much for joining us today. Stephanie Majors, Isaac Sonquist, Mickey Mahoney, and Raina Amundsen. We are including links and bios to their social media and whatnot in our show notes and on our website, am950radio.com, if you want to connect with all of them. Belo Miguel Cipriani, thank you for again joining us here on the show. We will include links to Belo's books, and if you love what you hear here, you can enroll at Metro State University and become a student of Belo's, which I highly recommend. And I see everybody nodding their heads.
Yeah.
Do it.
As well.
Do it.
So thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. The Matt McNeil Show is up next, and stay tuned for Native Roots Radio after that. Have a great weekend, everybody.